Hi there, this is John Frenay, and welcome to an Encore presentation of our Legacy Business Spotlight. These are best done in person, and with the current state of emergency restrictions, that's just not possible. So we will be re-releasing our past episodes every Saturday at noon until this pandemic is in our collective rearview mirror. Until then, enjoy this Encore presentation of our Legacy Business Spotlight.
Some businesses succeed, some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories, those business owners that have been around for decades, learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Frenay.
Hey, joining us on the phone today is Bill Muehlhauser, who is the founder of, I would say Rams Head Tavern, but that would be selling it really short. So we're just going to call it the Rams Head Group, which I believe is the corporate name of the entity. But how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Appreciate that. Yes, you're correct. It's Rams Head Group right now.
And this has been, and I'm a short-timer to Annapolis. I came here in 96. Rams Head was certainly there. It was one of the first bars I ever went into. It was into the Down Bar with a friend. And I've been obviously going there ever since. I don't know whether this will make you mad or not, but I think that the Roadhouse is probably my favorite one of them. I just like that. I just like the vibe up there. We play trivia every Wednesday night.
Yeah, I actually, the Roadhouse is a favorite of mine as well. It was our, I think our third stab at a restaurant where we wanted to prove to people that we can actually go into an existing restaurant and not necessarily change its character too much. So we tried to keep a lot of it was called Rudy's when we bought it.
You've got the sign up there. It still sits there right on the transom between the dining room and the bar.
Still there. We just sort of expanded on what they had already started and been successful on for years.
You've done that pretty well too. And then just take a little bit of a step back. Right now in the Maryland area, there are 5 restaurants. You've got the Rams Head Tavern in Annapolis. You've got the Shorehouse, which is over on Kent Island. I guess that's Stevensville. You've got the Rams Head Roadhouse in Crownsville. Again, the Rams Head Tavern in Savage over that way. And then now you've got a new one up in Glen Burnie at the Rams Head Dockside, which is right on the river. Or on the creek.
It's on Furnace Creek. That is our newest one and a real exciting place, especially in the summertime.
Well, again, that's a restaurant that was existing, and I'm trying to draw a blank on the name of what it was, but that's something that you came in there and tweaked things. You pushed a couple little buttons, and but you really didn't change what the restaurant was.
Right. It's still, a neighborhood bar now. We are going after the visitor a little bit more than what they were doing in the past. But it's sort of a lot like the Roadhouse, where it's a neighborhood gathering place, bar, grill. Very, very similar. Actually, menu is very similar.
Yeah.
To the Roadhouse.
Rams Head got to start back in 1989, and congratulations, we're now in 2019, so that's 30 years.
Yeah, I can feel there's 30 years.
I'm sure you can. I mean, I was when I first moved into town, I briefly for a minute thought about buying Reynolds Tavern. It was for sale at one point.
Right.
And a wise restaurateur in Annapolis pulled me aside and slapped me upside the head and said, "Look, you don't want to get into the rrestaurant business unless you're born into it." And he had some very good reasons. Back in 1989, you don't have a restaurant background in 1989.
No, I'm actually an auto mechanic by trade. Still a car nut. Still work on cars. Moved to Annapolis without really having too much to do. My wife ended up selling real estate, Paula. We've been married now for 43 years. She's put up with me. And I was selling cars up the street there at Phipps Buick, which is now Adams. Yeah, I was a car salesman there. I called my wife, and we were, I like bars. So
who doesn't?
Enough to say, let's find one. Looked at a bunch of them in Annapolis, pretty well worn, torn, not in good shape. I had given up. She called me and said, let's have lunch at a place called Rams Head, and we went down in a little basement, 30 seats, 3 employees. And I said, hey, this is pretty cool. So we ended up buying that, and that's where we started for the first time in the restaurant business.
In 1989, did you have, even in your wildest dreams, picturing where you are in 2019? Or did you expect like a little 30-seat bar? And
Well, it's funny with the people, we've got some very long-term employees, and I always say we have an annual retreat. And what I suggest to these younger people and the people running the restaurants, or even if they're out on their own, I decided when I was in the automotive business, repair business, that on New Year's Day, I will always and still do sit down in a quiet room, usually with a beer. But I always try to sit down and determine what I want to achieve that year. And that's what I did at Rams Head, and I did that year after year. And I never had the full picture, but I always tried to come up on January 1 with a focus for that year.
For a next step. Well,
yeah, and that might have been the microbrewery or the music or another location.
Well, let's talk a little bit. I mean, we know the taverns; those are the obvious ones. You've got Rams Head on Stage, which is a certainly national renowned, if not world renowned, music venue. It's consistently rated as one of the top ones by Pollster magazine in the under 500 category, or whatever category they have.
Yep.
For quite a long time, you were the managing partner for Pier 6 in Baltimore, which was under a long-term lease from the city of Baltimore.
Yeah, we had that for 10 years. We lost that 3 years ago when it went out to rebid again, then it was awarded to Live Nation.
Right. You had Rams Head Live, which was in Baltimore, which was in the power plant,
yep.
And that was sold at one point to AEG.
So we sold both Baltimore venues to the two big boys. AEG and Live Nation are the two largest entertainment companies in the world, and they go at it all the time, beating each other up. And Rams Head decided it was best not to get in the middle of two of them, so we sold Live to AEG, and the amp went to Live Nation.
Well, it sounds to me like AEG realizes the value of the Rams Head brand too, because it's not called AEG Live; it's called Rams Head Live, still to this day, I believe.
Yeah, we're very proud of that they maintain the name.
And you also were in Maryland, and I'm going to screw up the name of it, but Live Casino and Hotel for a little bit with Rams Head Center Stage.
Center Stage. We had a 5-year agreement with them, and we played out through that agreement, and we decided to focus on other territories, and that ended up down here in Key West.
And that brings us to the Key West Theater, which is the southern version, I guess, of Rams Head on Stage to a degree.
It is. I have to say that I have we also have the Brewery, of course, and that's a whole separate side of business, but I have a partner in that, a gentleman by the name of John Rodenhouse. And John and I both are owners of the Key West Theater, yes. And it is an extension of Rams Head on Stage. The acts that we put there on stage, we're bringing to Key West now.
Sure. And then you've also most recently acquired another restaurant down in Key West. And
right.
Has that been fully rebranded into a Rams Head at this point? Or
it'll be rebranded on September 1st. Currently, it's called Blue Macaw. A friend of mine, Fran, he actually, I've known Fran through Delaware restaurants for many years. We bought it. The Rams Head group bought it from him, and it'll become a Rams Head Southernmost September 1st.
You guys don't rest on your laurels too often.
No, the company's gone through a change, and I'm not sure when it's appropriate. I sold the majority of my ownership to John Rodenhouse, the gentleman that I'm half partners with in the brewery as well as the theater. So the Rams Head group is now primarily owned by John Rodenhouse, my son Kyle. Family members here and there, but it's still a very family business. John, I can't say enough about him as a partner. I've been partners with him. Even at Rams Head Live, John was a partner of mine.
Well, I tell you, you talk about the family members and the staff that you've had and everything else, and I can't agree with you anymore on the people. And we've worked together with Annapolis for Rams Head for 9 years, and between just everybody that's been in that office, whether they're they were across the street, but whether they're upstairs over the venues, or whether they're in the restaurants, whether they're working the sound, whatever it is. I mean, these guys are top notch, and I love.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I love hearing the stories out of it. I mean, I know there's several marriages that have come out of employees that have worked there.
So many. My wife and I, someday we're going to count them. It's pretty neat. And Wayne Fertitta, Corky's been with us for over 25 years, and he is now down here in Key West.
Oh, did he move down there?
Yeah, yep. He moved down here, so he's been down here for maybe 2 months almost, and he's the general manager of what will be Rams Head Southernmost.
Not a bad move. Not a bad move.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite Rams Head story is when I first came. Well, not when I first came down here. I'm divorced. I got divorced in, I guess it was 2000, and it was one of my very first Christmases without my kid. So, being the sad sack that I was feeling, sorry for myself, on Christmas Eve, fairly late at night, I roll over into the Rams Head Tavern in Annapolis, and it's empty. Not a whole lot was going on there. And I'm like, okay, this is, sat there, talked to other people, and we all had the same story. We were alone on Christmas for whatever reason. Some were divorced, some were traveling, whatever it was. Drinking beers, having a good time, laughing. And I said, hey, we're hungry. And they said, well, we're not really doing a whole full kitchen thing going on. I said, really? I said, can't you get me like some nachos or anything like that? And they're like, well, no, we really don't have much of that. And I'm like, okay. So I went down to the 7-Eleven down there on off of Rao Boulevard. I bought a bag of nachos and a jar of queso salsa, whatever it is.
Yep.
I took it in there. I said, here, throw this in the microwave. And we sat there. It was just a group of about 20 of us. And I swear that all of us had the best Christmas Eve we've ever had as a bunch of sad sacks in the Rams Head. But it was, and we're still in touch with some of the people that are there. And it was just,
that's great.
It's just, it is a place that everybody feels comfortable. You mentioned the brewery, and that's something else that I know that you've really grown with. You are the Fordham and Dominion Brewery, which was actually brewed in Annapolis at one point.
Yeah, well, the Fordham name comes from the Fordham family back in 1703. It was the first brewery. I resurrected that brewery in Annapolis in 1995.
Okay.
And then, I moved it for a while. Then we were operating in Annapolis and Alexandria. And then for a while we were operating in Annapolis, Arlington, and Dover, Delaware. So now we have consolidated and we are 100% manufacturing in Dover.
And I will say that even, your penchant for events and entertainment extends down to the brewery, because I know that you have the R2 Hop 2 Festival, which is always a lot of fun. Yeah. Perhaps my favorite is the Cheese Tober Fest. Hopefully that will go on. But I know there's several different large-scale events that happen down at the brewery. Crazy name of a street, but it's like McBee Drive.
We're going to start doing more there. We just had our grand opening for our new tasting room at the brewery. So we moved one of the ladies that was managing at the Shorehouse. We moved her down to manage the tasting room at Dover. Now we're going to be doing quite a few events outside. Saturday we had food trucks there. We had music. Expect to do more there in Dover. That
makes sense. And that's a really fun day trip from Annapolis. You can be down there inside of about an hour and 10 minutes or so like that, and it's not
a bad trip at all.
No, and you've got some tasty brews. I mean, you've got the whole Rams Head IPA, which is your own private branded one, but you've a lot of. I know your new sour that you introduced is really nice. I like that as well.
Yeah, the one we have a lot of hope for right now is we just brought out a new. I'm trying to sell beer now. The new Backstage IPA.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a more sessionable IPA. That seems to be the direction that the industry's going. Rams Head IPA can kick you butt pretty quickly.
Yes, it can.
But this Backstage, and you're right, the sour beer, we just came out with a honey beer called Zombie, and that one I think will be a mainstay beer as well.
Right. Well, the different beers that you come out with, and again, all of your restaurants do celebrate the beer releases, which is, I know so many people that have collections of the pint glasses.
Yeah.
The first night, it's I can't remember. You pay like $7 for the first pint, and then refills are like a couple bucks or something like that, and you get the pint glass to take home, which is
do that. The first Thursday of every month, and we'll be doing one here in Key. We're actually going to do the same thing here in Key West come September, the first Thursday in September.
Right. And did I hear also rumors that you've got wine on tap in your restaurants now, which is something. Now, did you guys buy into a winery, or is that just a partnership?
No, that's my the partner, John, who bought the majority of shares of mine out. He's a partner of my son, Kyle. John has a winery up on the Finger Lakes.
Okay.
So, Rams Head, who's kind of kid, if you want wine, don't go to Rams Head. But
now you've got to rethink that.
Yeah, the partner in the wine business. So we're going to be bringing his wine into the Rams Heads here in Florida. And we also have an entertainment venue up in the Finger Lakes at his winery. So I think it was Robert O'Keen we just had up there last weekend. But so we'll be doing music up in that area as well. And John and Kyle and Chris, who's been with me now, Chris does the majority of our booking.
You're going to kill her. You're going to kill her.
Yeah. Well, we brought her. She's actually, the whole Freundschaft is in Greenville today, looking to open up a new venue in Greenville.
Wow.
Rams Head's on a real growth kick right now, and I'm primarily now involved in just handling Florida.
Right.
But Chris, we brought in a gentleman by the name of Todd Erickson, who was involved with Rams Head when we were booking Pier 6. We hired Todd, and Todd works for Rams Head Promotions, and we just opened a New Orleans office for Todd, and moved a lady that worked for us here in Key West out to New Orleans, and now we have a booking office there as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, a lot going on.
all these secrets they don't tell me. This is wow.
Oh, we just signed the management agreement for the Key West Amphitheater today. I just delivered that to City Hall here in Key West.
And how big is that venue?
4,000. So we will manage that for the next 3 years, and hopefully we will be able to manage it for the following 3 years.
Right. And
Total of 6.
And the way the music has gone, I mean, when I first discovered Rams Head back when I moved down here in '96, was on stage didn't exist for about another year, I guess, and there was apparently some reason that you decided you want to get out of not out of the restaurant, but move from the restaurant business into the entertainment business, which was a great move for you. And then you ventured into festivals. You had the Silopanna Festival that wasn't for a year because of a hurricane, and then it came back.
Yep. Then it rained.
Yeah. It was.
Weather wasn't our favorite there. We may go back to that as well, but
wow.
How do you ever get hit by a hurricane? Wow.
Yeah, in Maryland, and
Just so you know, I was here in Florida. I'm living here in Key West, and that hurricane was headed towards us in Key West, and we closed shop here and headed to Maryland, my wife and I. And lo and behold, that damn thing followed us up the coast and ended up having to cancel the Silopanna Festival that year.
Oh, that was. I do have the T-shirt from that year. I got the T-shirt, so I thought that was that's my sort of takeaway from that. I know my father lived in Florida before he passed, and he had the same thing. They evacuated out of the East Coast. He was up in Stewart, and it was going to be a direct hit. I can't remember what hurricane it was because that just sort of rolls off my radar. But they evacuated everybody into Orlando, and he was in a retirement community, and they had the buses and everything else, and they all go into Orlando, and sure enough, this thing veers off and then comes right in and takes straight shot into Orlando, and his place was never touched or anything like that.
That just happened again recently, and 2 years ago with Irma. Well, we've got a lot happening. It's exciting.
Well, you're also booking certainly shows at Maryland Hall, at Key Auditorium at St. John's, and most recently you've got the Avett Brothers that are coming up into the University of Delaware. So you guys have got your fingerprints all over the place.
Yeah, the Avett Brothers we had here in Key West for 2 nights. So we sold Key West Amphitheater out, brought thousands of people to the island. Todd, our new booking assistant with Chris, we will go after, you'll see us booking a lot of colleges. That's sort of a new direction that we're adding to our booking portfolio. Yeah, we do some booking, other little venues, Jurgles out in Pittsburgh.
Well, where are you from originally? Are you originally from Annapolis?
I'm Pennsylvania, Dutch country, a little town called Topton.
Okay.
But I'm originally Topton, Kutztown, near Allentown.
Okay, yep.
Went into the garage business there, and then Kutztown, we always hung out in Kutztown. That was a big town for us back then.
At the Folk Fest.
Oh, yeah.
At the Kutztown Folk Fest, absolutely. And the Philadelphia.
Did you ever go to the Kutztown airport, get a glider ride?
I went to an airport and did a glider ride, but I don't believe it was in Kutztown. It was probably like Solbury, out on a little bit closer on the Delaware River. But we did cruise out to Harrisburg and back on no gas, which I thought was absolutely amazing.
My wife and I, we owned that with a partner, Fred Clemens. God bless, he just passed away. But we owned the Kutztown airport for 9 years.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So, that was something something I did. Even when we first bought Rams Head, I would work Rams Head. Well, I'd work the car dealership, Rams Head, and then I would fly back to the airport and work the airport on weekends. That I did for quite a few years till we were able to get Rams Head to be successful enough to do that solely.
And Paula stuck with you through all that.
She did. In fact, she worked. Yeah, I don't know how the heck she did that, but she her last job with Rams Head, although she does all the decorating, she just remodeled or decorated the Key West restaurant. With Savage, she loved not only decorating them but being the host. And she called me one day and said, "You know what? I'm done. I quit." And she didn't really quit. She's still very involved, like I say, in helping us with odds and ends.
I don't think. I mean, even though you've said you've sold some, the majority share of it and whatnot, I don't think that once you've given birth to this baby that there's any way that you could ever quit it.
Well, I can't. That I proved to myself. I sold the most of my shares to Kyle and John on October 15th of last year, and thought, well, I'll just kind of hang here in Key West and go fishing and golfing.
Yeah, right.
And work at the theater. But that didn't last too long. So I said, all right, guys, I'm still engaged.
One thing that I want to talk about, and I know that you guys tend to be a little bit hesitant to talk about it, but it's the benevolence that you guys give back to the community. One huge thing, and I sniffed this out a couple years ago, and the Polar Bear Plunge. You guys have been a staple for the Maryland State Police Special Olympics of Maryland Polar Bear Plunge, which comes around every January. You've got the Rams Head Ice Lodge. Whether the roof gets blown off by a storm or whatnot, you guys are always there. You always field a team that is doing the Super Plunge. You raise money, and 100% of the proceeds of that, and this is, you're serving the Fordham beer, you're serving the Dominion beer, and 100% of the proceeds go to Special Olympics on that. That's not right. A moneymaker for you guys. And that's something I know that several years ago when I had heard that, they're like, well, yeah, but we don't like to say that. And I said, well, I'll say that because I think that's huge because, you have really given back an awful lot to the area, the city. You're bringing in national acts that are coming here. You've made Annapolis music scene a scene. It wasn't before 1997. To have the caliber of entertainment that we've got coming in here, the caliber of the food that's being served at the taverns, and all the other restaurants that aren't called a tavern, but the taverns and houses, I guess.
Yep.
And I think that it's I know that there's never been a time when anybody's asked you guys for something that you're not willing to support a local cause, which I think is just absolutely tremendous for a business that's been here for 30 years.
Yeah, we try. You're asked so often, and we try to focus and at least do one thing a year that we can be very proud of. For many years, Rams had also sponsored projects up at the Baltimore Aquarium. We tend to try to do things for children. I had a son that was killed on a bicycle accident when he was 8 years old, Kyle's brother Chad. So we dedicated it was called Your Size Whale Wise up at the Baltimore Aquarium for many years. And every time you bought a ticket at the amphitheater in Baltimore, money went back to the aquarium. But another event, Special Olympics, that's especially important to Kyle. And I'm never really talked to him directly about that, but I'm pretty sure that has to do with his brother as well. So we like doing that. We like that donation. We try to make it significant. I personally am working with an organization right now in Florida, which trying to raise significant money to rebuild the shelter for abused women and children that was taken away during the hurricane 2 years ago.
Wow.
County doesn't have money to rebuild it, so we're in the process of working with some folks and see if we can raise some real money to rebuild the shelter. It's something good. And I feel good about this, particularly not just for the sake of helping the women, but again, it involves children, so that sort of hits a soft spot in the Muehlhauser family.
When you've received so much from the community, and again, the Annapolis community and certainly the Key West community and all the other ones that you're moving into have been supportive of the Muehlhauser family and the Rams Head brand for 30 years.
Yes.
And it does make one feel good to give back in whatever possible way you can. I mean, even, on the smallest level or something much larger. And I think that that's all about being a good citizen and about being a good business, a good solid business for whatever community you're located in, whether it's Key West or Savage or Annapolis.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm 65, so when we do these things, it's interesting to see the young folks that work for us get excited about it. So it actually introduces them at a younger age into that arena. But we have no problem staffing these events, and with our employees, they volunteer to do it and they like doing it. So that's a good feel as well.
I find that the tenor of volunteerism and philanthropy, if you will, has changed a little bit over the last probably 15, 20 years. And I wonder whether if this was being done in 1989, whether it would have been the same.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know.
I agree. I mean, I know several people that work for you, and that polar bear plunge rolls around, and man, I am hounded incessantly to donate to each of their individual ones. Come on, pledge me, pledge me. Don't pledge her, don't pledge her.
I only did it twice, and then that was cold enough for me. I do the one down here in Florida.
What's that called? The bathtub plunge there?
It's a polar bear plunge off of the South Beach here, Southernmost Beach. And the water might be 75 during the winter. So,
this is, we're bleeding hearts up here. Feel so bad for
you. Put it
you.
this way. We run into the water. We stay in there with a cocktail. We don't run back out like we did up north or do up north. Very different.
But, again, I want to, congratulate you and certainly your partner, John Rodenhauser, and, everybody that has worked for you over 30 years. I know several of them that are all grown up and married and kids and everything else that, it's been a staple for so many. It's been, fond memories for everybody. I know you had an American Idol contestant that was an employee there for a while.
I forget the name, no, really good employees.
It really is. And I'm so excited to hear that this, what is the saying goes, a rolling stone gathers no moss, and that you guys are looking forward. I mean, we've got booking offices in New Orleans now, and we're looking at other venues in the Finger Lakes regions and the wine. And I mean, this is the sign and the success of a business that is constantly evolving and changing up the plan.
Yep, Greenville today. So bringing John in and having, I can't give it up. You said that very, very well. But it's exciting to bring my partner John in full force, because he's got that excitement and that will to continue that ball rolling. So exciting time.
I think also you get a different set of eyeballs on, and I don't want to say a problem, but just on the operation. And there could be something that you are so blind to that you have, and of course the people that are closest to you, your wife and your senior management and everything else could be very blind to it. And all of a sudden somebody says, "Hey, well, why aren't we doing this?" And boom, there you go. Why do we?
John runs a host of successful businesses, and he has a daughter within a dance class, owns a dance studio, not for profit, and we have a dance studio here at Key West Theater. He's got one son that has two very well-known recording studios, L.A. and New York, and then another son that runs an import-export business. Our beer actually is now in the UK, and we just shipped our first container of our beer to China.
Wow.
And also it's headed to Japan. So bringing the Rodenhouse family in with the Muehlhauser family has really opened up new doors.
Now, that's two German families, right?
Yeah,
Is that how that works? That's
beer.
That's true.
If there wasn't beer involved, John probably wouldn't be involved.
Well, Fordham and Old Dominion. That sounds like it sounds like it could be a British brew.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how it goes over well in the Orient, though. That's
yeah. It'll be. It's a hot micro market right now, or just starting to be. So it will be interesting. First container. It's crossing the ocean right now.
How much beer is in a container?
Well, you get the 40-foot. I don't know. I should know.
So when you say a
I
container,
know the dollar amount, but I'm not going to say that.
Right. So you're talking about like a container, like essentially like a tractor trailer type.
A tractor trailer. You have a 20-foot, which are those, half, and then the 40-foot is a typical tractor trailer size.
Wow. Okay. So you've got it's on the way. So if anybody's listening to us from China or Japan, hey, your beer is almost there.
It's almost there. Hopefully, it's good when it gets there. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, Bill Muehlhauser, I will not take any more of your time. I appreciate you taking some time out from that horrible place you live in Key West, where the weather's where the water's 72 degrees and provides you with cocktails during a polar bear plunge.
It does. Not bad.
But thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for 30 years of what you've done for the city, what you've done for the area. And I appreciate working with you folks for all these years. And I'm so excited to see where you go.
Thank you, John. I'm excited as well, and I appreciate you letting me do this interview.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Bill.
Okay, now. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Ion Annapolis. Please be sure to visit ionannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Ion Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.